Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. So, just this morning, I was thinking about what was going to happen with Nintendo Directs now that Satoru Iwata has passed. We just found out yesterday of who the new president's going to be. It's going to be Tatsumi Kimishima, if I'm saying that right. I keep making sure not to butcher that. With all this new information and the shifting and all this stuff, it's just been a question that's been on my mind and apparently a lot of people's minds is whether or not the Nintendo Directs are going to continue, and if they should continue, and if they did, what's the best way to do it. All these different things, and I was actually thinking that I should probably make a video about this topic tonight, and right as I was thinking that, I actually got online and saw all over the place a bunch of posts from a bunch of different websites where Nintendo actually came out and confirmed this morning that the Nintendo Directs will indeed continue, moving away from Iwata's leadership and the fact that it was kind of his whole little pet project there and something that he was always working to present to us, the gamers and the Nintendo fans. And I thought it was really odd, cryptic timing, but it was also kind of a good thing. Once I saw that, I was like, well, I guess I don't need to make a video on how that whole thing is going to play out. But I still realized that I wanted to at least touch on the fact that they are continuing. And for the most part, I think it's a really good thing. It's probably no surprise that I, as a huge Nintendo fan, really have enjoyed the Nintendo Directs. I think that it's a great way to stay up to date with your consumer, for Nintendo to be very, well, I don't want to say very transparent, but sort of transparent with Nintendo fans, and at least keep, a good steady stream of information and game releases and all this stuff coming to us. I mean, it's a lot of fun. They've been presented in fun ways. Once Nintendo and Iwata really figured out the best way to do it, to be fair, if anyone can think back to the very first couple of Nintendo Directs when they were brand new, it was a little awkward and they were a little boring, and they kind of came off, the presentation and the way they were executed was a little bit businessy and less on the fun side, where they were eventually becoming something more like a mini E3 kind of thing. That was a lot of fun once they started to figure it out, which, if I remember right, would have been around January 2013 or so, around the time that they announced and revealed that the Wind Waker was going to be getting an HD re-release on the Wii U. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, there might actually be something to this. And of course, like I was just saying, it's really, the Nintendo Directs were something that was Satoru Iwata's baby. I mean, as far as I think we know, he actually did come up with the idea, or at least was very heavily involved with the concept and its inception. And more than anything, once it was actually something that Nintendo was doing, he was the one who was always spearheading them, putting them together, and also doing the majority of the presentations. Reggie and Bill Trinen would show up a few times here and there, which was really cool. Bill Trinen had more and more to do with them as the years went on, but it's always been really Iwata's thing. That's just kind of what he was known for. And it just became this quirky, charismatic thing that defined Nintendo, defined how Nintendo spoke to the gamers and their fans, and helped define who Iwata was and what he felt was important to the company. And the fact that what was important to him was speaking directly to the gamers and giving us constant flows of information and news directly to us without the need for major news outlets was pretty cool. And it showed that Nintendo, even though there was a lot of things they didn't get right, I think that mantra, that kind of business model, and again, transparency to the consumer, I think was really smart, and it showed that Nintendo had something special. Even though they made a lot of other mistakes, I think that was something that they got really, really right. And they weren't always perfect, and this last E3 kind of is a prime example of how maybe too many directs can also take away from what you might have to show when it really counts, when the entire world is looking at you and you're taking center stage and your E3 presentation is happening and it's not going awesomely because you have no surprises to show, because you've shown all the other surprises you could have possibly had in all these other Nintendo Directs leading up to that point. So I do think that they have to be carefully managed, and for the most part, Nintendo has done well only until this year. So there was a little bit of a concern there. When Iwata passed, and once we got past, the awkward sort of grieving phase, if you want to call it that, I started to think, man, what should they do with Directs? Should they continue? And is there a benefit to not doing Directs and maybe trying a different way to bring news specifically to the gamer without using the major news outlets? And, I never really had enough time to come up with my own theory of what they could do that might be better. But, now we got the confirmation, like I said today, that it is going to be continuing. They basically said, and there's a small little quote, excuse me, that I want to read real quick because it kind of puts in perspective exactly where they are with the whole thing. They said, again, this is quote, Nintendo Directs will continue, but we have no details to provide on who will be featured or the topics that will be covered. So that to me really tells me that the format for Nintendo Directs may actually be changing. That's kind of vague enough to also be hinting at them not changing at all. I mean, they could become the exact same just with different personnel. Or it could be something that might be a little bit different. Maybe the presentation is less focused on the fun and it's more just straight down to facts. Maybe they're even goofier. Maybe there's certain things that they will discuss that they wouldn't previously, and vice versa. I mean, who really knows? Maybe they're supposed to be longer. Maybe they're supposed to be shorter. Maybe they're supposed to happen more frequently, or maybe they're supposed to happen less frequently. It's crazy. I mean, there's just a lot that could happen there. When they mention, we don't know, we're not going to reveal who's going to be involved yet either. That's very interesting because, I mean, with Kimishima just taking over Iwata's role for at least the next year, would he be the guy to do it? Honestly, I simply don't think so. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would be ideal for presenting Nintendo Directs. I could be wrong. Like I said, I mean, I do like the guy. I made my video yesterday discussing him, and he seems like he could be a good fit. But I don't know that this might be his bag. I guess that remains to be seen, and maybe I could be proven wrong. But I don't expect that, especially for the North American audience. Someone who I'm surprised no one has been talking about, and the person I absolutely think will and should take over the majority of the direct presentations, is Bill Trinen. That guy has the perfect attitude and kind of candor to present what Nintendo does to the North American and English-speaking audience in a way that's just going to make sense and that we're familiar with and comfortable with. We all already know him, especially here in North America. All the English-speaking countries are very familiar with him, you know. Iwata was able to do very Japanese-centric Nintendo Directs for the Japanese audience. Maybe Kimishima might be good at that, and maybe they get someone else to be able to present to the American audience. And I think like Bill Trinen would be a perfect example. He's a cool, nice, fun, genuine guy. He really understands what Nintendo's message is. He's always been a very comfortable guy to watch interact with Nintendo and the different executives and Miyamoto and Iwata and stuff when he's doing presentations and on stages. And with Reggie, you know, yes, obviously I would love Reggie to be involved as well. I don't see this being something that he would take over full time. Maybe Reggie would be more involved. But the guy who seems to have the right role that accommodates a schedule of frequent Nintendo Directs, I would guess and think is Bill Trinen. And like I said, I think he's the guy I most want to do it. You know, he speaks Japanese, so he's great at translating back and forth. And he did like the Pikmin Direct, I think, the Wonderful 101 Direct, all the Amiibo stuff. He just has it down. So that's my ultimate theory there is I think and hope that it will be Bill Trinen. But at the end of the day, you know, like I said, Nintendo didn't give us much information. The most important thing they did today was confirm Nintendo Directs will continue. I'm taking that as really good news. I hope that they find a way to not change them, you know, adversely, and if anything, make them a little bit better. If they can improve on them without taking away too much of what they do and how they bring information to us, that would just be awesome because it's what makes them special, and I'm sure it's why anyone out there who enjoys them does enjoy them. It's why I love them. You know, I loved hearing from Iwata and seeing new surprises, and the last few really were focused on the 3DS, so hopefully they start using some Nintendo Directs to kind of repair some of the damage done from E3, as a lot of us have talked about, maybe get us pumped for 2016 for the Wii U, hopefully, and eventually we know it's going to become how we probably start to get more solid information about the NX, so it's going to be really interesting to see it all play out. Who's going to take over? We don't know. What kind of topics will be discussed? Will it change or won't it change? It's going to be very interesting to live in a Nintendo Direct world after Iwata has passed. So who knows how it's going to play out, but I'm excited. What do you guys think? Do you think this is good news or bad news? Do you like Directs? Do you not? Do you want them to change? Do you want Bill Trinen? Do you want Reggie? Do you want Kimishima? Do you want someone different? How do you guys feel about it? Definitely share it below. Thanks as always for tuning in. This is Rob of World 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.